We want to take you live now to North Canton, Ohio, where Mitt Romney is campaigning with Governor John Kasich ahead of tomorrow's primary. Kasich is in a tight race with Donald Trump in his home state. Mitt Romney, of course, is no fan of Trump's and has slammed the frontrunner repeatedly, calling him a phony and a fraud. Let's go ahead and listen in to see what Mitt Romney and Kasich have to say.
And so you said, you know, this guy's kind of been there. Let's try him as governor. And when he got in, you know, he made a lot of changes. A lot of people said, boy, this is uncomfortable. But those changes made a difference. And now he's come back again to you. And he said, look, I'd like to be able to help take the reins of the country. And so the people of Ohio are once again, tomorrow, going to be able to decide who is it that should lead our nation. And this time you also have a track record you can look at. And the track record is, hey, this is a guy who came into Ohio when things were tough, when there was an $8 billion budget gap, and he turned that around and turned it into a surplus. When you were losing employers and losing jobs every month, he turned that around. 400,000 jobs been created. And he also has a little part of his resume that says he was in Washington for a while, worked with the Armed Services Committee. And so you look at this guy, and unlike the other people running, he has a real track record. He has the kind of record that you want in Washington, and that's why I'm convinced that you're going to do the right thing tomorrow. Agreed? And so, if you want to actually see a balanced budget in Washington, if you want to see that balanced budget, if you want to get rid of Obamacare, if you want to see employers come back to America instead of fleeing America, and jobs come again, if you want to get wages up, and by the way, the only way you get wages up, the only way you get real wages up is if you're creating more jobs and more employers come here and they start competing for good employees, and then they have to raise wages in order to get those good employees. And so this is the guy that Ohio needs to vote for. America's counting on you. Let's do it. Let's welcome a great governor of a great state, John Kasich. Governor. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, how things would have been different if the election results had been different 4 years ago, huh? If Mitt Romney would have been president, what do you think? Huh? You know, it's so nice of Mitt to come out and support me here in this effort to win this state. I want to just say a couple things about Mitt. You know, the thing that always, first of all, he was the governor of Massachusetts. And that's not an easy state to win in, Massachusetts, when you're a conservative Republican. And he did a fantastic job, and he was a leader when he was there. But you know what always has stood out, by the way, incredible family, his wife, incredible lady. But what always stood out for me more than anything else, one of the things that the world watches are the Olympics. And we had the Olympics in Salt Lake City, and they were falling apart. And they didn't know what they were going to do. Could you imagine having that kind of an embarrassment? I mean, it would almost be as bad as people slugging it out at a campaign rally with images. No, seriously, you think about this. We kind of chuckle about this. Think of the images that have been broadcast across this world of the way we're picking a president here. I mean, my kids are watching this. Your kids, your grandkids are watching what's happening here. And they're looking at a scene of people pounding each other. You think they're not using that for propaganda to send a message to people that America's broken? That America's lost? Well, we had that other opportunity back with the Olympics, so we could have looked really, really bad. And Mitt Romney went in and saved the day and ran one of the greatest Olympic Games in modern history because of his leadership and because of what he was able to do. And he's a great job creator. I tell you something. I'm going to let Hillary Clinton disparage job creators in this country? You got another thing coming. It is not going to happen, because we need the job creators to help our families. So, folks, here's what the way I've been seeing it. First of all, you know, where I grew up, my dad carried mail on his back. Do you all know that? I mean, 29 years, my dad carried mail on his back. What you don't know is that my father's father, my grandfather, was a coal miner. He'd go down in the mine, he'd dig all day long, and he'd think he'd had a good haul, and he'd go up top, and they would say to my grandfather, well, you dug too much peat. You didn't dig enough coal, so we're going to cut what we're going to give you in half. He had nobody to go to, nobody to talk to. And he died of black lung, losing his eyesight along the way. My mother's mother, or my mother, let me tell you a little bit about her. I just found out the other day, because we didn't talk about these things. It's sort of funny because my Uncle George, who has now turned 90, my father's brother, he and his brothers used to go to school in remade flour sacks. They didn't have anything. And my uncle was really mad at me. And if he's watching today, Uncle George, if we're on television, I'm not saying that to embarrass you. I'm saying that because I want people to know how proud of that I am, your nephew, of the fact that you graduated from high school, went to college, and became a guidance counselor for 39 years, helping kids get their lives, and you built yourself up, and how proud I am that you're my uncle, and it happened in America. So we didn't talk a lot about this. You know, I found out my mother is one of four, two brothers and a sister. My cousin told me the other day that my mother was the only one to have graduated from high school, and the other three, she didn't think even got beyond the 8th grade. You see, folks, all of my career, those folks, my family, the place where I grew up in McKees Rocks, all blue collar, all Democrat. When the wind blew the wrong way, people found themselves out of work. And I could see it as a kid on the ball field. My buddies would come up, and you could see when they were down. I didn't figure it out till a few years ago why they were down. Is because dad or mom lost a job. I learned the value of work. Let me tell you another thing that I feel strongly about. You know, the Lord has made each and every one of us special. Do you know that?
Yep, we do.
There's nobody ever been born like you. There will never be another person that will come after you that will be like you. You were made special, sir. You were made special to accomplish something significant, to change the world. You don't have to change the world by running for president. Frankly, I don't think the Lord cares whether you're running for president or whether you're sweeping a floor. I think all he cares is, what are you doing with what I gave you? To live a life bigger than yourself, to make a difference. So in that little hometown of McKees Rocks, my dad knew everybody's business. And you know what? What he knew is when a kid scored a touchdown on Friday night, he celebrated, and when the daughter sang a solo, he celebrated, and when they lost somebody, he cried with that family. And I have learned the importance of community and neighborhood and family. Now, we can always display those God-given gifts through our work. Sometimes it's not just through our work, though. You know, sometimes it's beyond our work. I like to talk recently about, I didn't know this lady existed, but she came forward and said, I'm real. This is a lady who was married for 50 years. Her husband died. Nobody calls her anymore. You call her on Monday. You say, this Saturday night, we're taking you to dinner. What do you think she does on Thursday? Huh? She goes, gets her hair done, doesn't she? And somehow she puts it up in such a way that not a piece of it is out of place by Saturday. You got this, don't you? And then you go to pick her up on Saturday, and she's wearing a dress she hasn't worn in 6 months. Did you change the world? I think you did.
We're listening to a John Kasich town hall meeting in Canton, Ohio right now, where Mitt Romney didn't come out and formally endorse him, just introduced the candidate, both of them praising each other for their work, and John Kasich there then taking a hit at Donald Trump, saying that people slugging it out on campaign rallies are images that he did not want projected to the rest of the world, that it shows America is broken, and he is condemning those actions.